Hey, welcome back to the Popwood Shop. We've got a shop tip for you about router collets in particular. Going to kind of talk about, it's not a myth, it's a reality, how far you're supposed to put the router bit into the collet when you first put it in to use it. So let's talk about that, but first let's look at the shape of the collet and how it works. So this is the collet itself, and you'll notice that if you look at it from the side, it actually has a tapered shape to it. This is what the bit slips into, and then this half of the collet slips into the adjoining piece here in the router itself. And it's the same shape and it fits fairly tightly. It would if this was the right collet. This is the collet for this router, and you can see it's tapered as well. Drops right in there, and then the nut tightens down on top of it. Now what's happening? These cuts that are on here are from both the top and from the bottom on this one. Some of them are slightly different. You'll see these are actually cut a little differently. But what happens is, when the nut is screwed down onto the collar, it tightens against this collet and compresses, holding the bit tight in place. Now, you can see from here that when I put this bit in, it's pretty loose here. No real problem. When you get closer to the bottom, it starts to drag. And that's how far we are to the bottom. Now, if we push it all the way into the bottom, say we're loading the router and putting the bit in, that gets pretty tight. What happens as well is when you put the nut on and start to tighten it down, there's no room for this bottom to compress, which means that the only tension that it's getting is from the top of the bit, and it's not really loose enough to get proper tension. So what you want to do is push the bit all the way in, and then pull it back out about a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch so that it loses that adhesion, that grab at the bottom. And now, when you put the nut in and tighten it down, that gives you room to compress and tighten up against the bit, and it'll give you a much stronger fit and hold so that you don't have to worry about slipping bits or loose bits, and you get a nice tight fit. So that's one thing. And while we're here, I want to mention, most collets these days are attached to a nut. You can get them apart, but it's a little harder to do, and then you lose the pieces. But you can see this one's been used, and that's okay, but you want to make sure that you clean it out. We've got dust in the corners here. That's just built up sawdust. So take a tool, take an awl. I've got an awl here. Just clean that out, blow it out. That way, your collet will tighten up like it's supposed to, and it'll be tight the next time you need it and hold things just right. So that's a router tip on collets for you today.